what can we do to address maybe this income inequality problem that a lot of people think is a problem?
Okay, let me try quickly to answer. On the question, will it cause social unrest? I think we already see it's not will it, it already is. Look at our political system. Look at the phenomena of Trump or any of the other signs of it, whether it's the impending collapse in the next few days of the subsidy for childcare, which is going to take 3 or 4 million women out of the labor force, if not more, suddenly, because they're not going to have childcare, which they need in order to work. I mean, we are seeing social unrest in our cities, in our society, 12 different ways. You'd have to be blind. We lose 100,000 people to opioid overdoses every year. These are staggering signs. Only people with a need not to see what's going on would miss the fact that we are in deep trouble.
Okay, I need to cut in over here. So what Professor Wolff over here is describing is actually a process that is consequence of, I prepared some slides to actually describe in pictures what is this consequence of. Says public corporations owe their primary allegiance to stockholders, not employees. Therefore, companies should seek to lower costs and maximize profits by moving corporation operations wherever is cheapest. The dawn of the age of outsourcing. So what is going on? What's going on is that the money in a global system is like a water going around following its own laws of gravity, laws of profit, and that the kind of that money that used to be much more of it in the United States is now by the people in the United States who are kind of very well off and want to make money. They don't care about their compatriots. They care only of themselves. So they seek profits in other parts of the globe, and they increase the economy in other parts of the globe by outsourcing production there. And therefore, over here in the United States, things for most of the income earners who are making their money by working is going down. And yeah, that's basically it. You know, there's a difference in between rich and poor. And the rich are right now destroying their own country, and that's where globalism actually fits in. They don't care about country. They care only about the money they're going to make anywhere in the world. And what Professor Wolff and the other gentlemen here are discussing are kind of economic policies of a government. But that government is really limited to one territory. Therefore, let's say United States. United States is a large country. However, it's not all of the globe. And effects are basically very limited because they could not, effects of governmental policies in the United States do not affect rest of the world as much. So that's very, very limited. That's kind of one of those problems that Professor Wolff is mentioning that Karl Marx has found that capitalism is basically eating itself or has a built-in problem within itself. But I wouldn't say that that is a problem. I mean, that's kind of propelling all of the world towards cancellation of individual nation states. And policy is going to follow the money. As they say, qui bono. If money goes around, money makes the world around. It's inevitably going to make people do the same thing. It's just going to take a little bit more time, but things are speeding up and speeding up. International situation intensifies.
Has to do with the extraordinary inequality that exists in our society in terms of what people can access in the way of emotional support, physical support, food, clothing, shelter, education, and all the rest. So we're already there. Capitalism is in deep trouble.
What's your answer? What would you do?
Good. That's the second part. My answer is where I think socialism is going. My answer is the problem starts, a crucial part of it, which we have not addressed, in the organization, as I said, of the enterprise. Let me simply sketch for you. Just do an imaginary effort with me, because the socialism I'm talking about doesn't exist. Not in Scandinavia, not in the Soviet Union, and not in the People's Republic. It's a new way of thinking about socialism. Not against the government versus private. It's a new direction. Here it is. You organize the workplace the way you organize the community, democratically. What do I mean? It's one person, one vote. We get together in the enterprise, the factory, the office, the store, and we decide collectively what we're going to do, what we're going to produce, what technology we're going to use, where we're going to carry out the production, and what we're going to do with the surplus, or if you like, the profits our enterprise generates. Here's what that will mean.
So I have to cut in over here because what Professor Wolff over here is explaining is the system in which I used to live before coming to the United States. That's the system of worker self-government that used to be kind of specific economic policy only existing in Yugoslavia. And I mean, really, I was a student. I wasn't a worker at that time, but I remember that my mother and father, after kind of coming home late in a day, like instead of 5, they would come home around 7 or 8 or 9 in the evening because they after work had to stay on those meetings where these things were being discussed. And everybody, especially at that time, people were still smoking. So that was a full room of people, and they were going on about kind of this organization of production and what to do with surplus and this and that. That wasn't much of a surplus. Luckily, at that time, Yugoslavia had been in a geopolitical situation in between two opposed blocks, so he was playing both sides and managed to get financial support in order to basically not to go to the other side. And that has been paid later on once the Berlin Wall has fallen. That type of special buffer was not needed anymore, and basically big powers just let Yugoslavia get itself destroyed in a civil war because nobody needed it anymore. It was an obsolete tool, and it was also obstacle for Western expansion towards the East.